craw, not craw. Well, here's a little place they call a chicken shack. Gonna boogie from the front to the back. Gonna rock and roll all night long. Gonna boogie till broad daylight. Yeah, choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-boogie. Oh, whoa, oh, whoa, choo-boogie, choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-boogie. Oh, whoa, oh, whoa, choo-boogie, choo-choo. Oh, well, take me right back to the track. Let's hear it, Chris. Chicken shack. Gonna boogie from the front to the back. Gonna rock and roll all night long. Gonna boogie till broad daylight. Yeah, choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-boogie. Oh, whoa, oh, whoa, choo-boogie, choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-boogie. Oh, whoa, oh, whoa, choo-boogie, choo-choo. Oh, well, take me right back to the track.
Where is it?
Tonight's show is the 1998 Retrospective. And my name's Larry Yeager. I'm your host for at least this segment of the show. In the course of the show, you'll be meeting all the members of the producers group who are here tonight. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through 11 of the 27 shows that we taped last year. That's 27 hours of programming that we brought to Somerville. We being the Somerville Producers Group who put on Dead Air Live. Now, the intro we had was from our July 14th show, Craw Not Craw, which was an hour-long Zydeco band. And, we just did, a little bit of choo-choo choo-boogie to get us off to a good track. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chronologically go through the 1998, like I said, 11 of the 27 shows. And when we do that, we'll do them as we get to them. And like I say, everybody will be introducing a segment or two. And the first segment we're going to have is from our January 27th show that was just about a year ago now. And there was a lot of production into this show. It was called The Senior Review, Still Moving, and it was, we had a rehearsal, and I did a like 7 or 8 page script, and we would like to show you this excerpt from that show.
Come on, everybody ready?
Yep.
Except Daphne.
We're ready.
Okay.
No exercise.
We got to bend, we got to bend, we got to reach, we got to reach, we got to twist, we got to twist, and we got to stretch, we've got to stretch. We got to keep on moving, we need to keep on moving, we want to keep on moving to stay alive, yes we do. I like to garden, like to garden.
I walk a lot.
She walks a lot.
I use the stairs.
She uses the stairs. We use what we got. What we got. We got to keep on moving. We need to keep on moving. We want to keep on moving to stay alive. Yes, we do.
I like to watch my TV, and what my grandchildren brings me iced tea, because I ain't exercising. It works up a sweat, and sometimes I forget.
What you need is an exercising buddy.
Or a class that meets regularly.
Or maybe you haven't found the kind of exercise that's right for you yet.
And just listen to what exercising can do for you.
It will strengthen your muscles and improve your endurance.
It will improve your posture and keep you from getting hunched over. It keeps resisting diseases.
It can increase your energy and vitality.
Helps you to function independently.
Improve your flexibility and increase your balance.
Resist the risk of falling.
And lower your stress level.
Helped your heart and your blood vessels and lungs work better. And enjoy life while we're here. Come on, Daphne, you can do
yeah,
it.
come
on. Okay. We got to flex,
We got to flex, we got to twist, we got to twist. We got to walk, we got to walk.
Let's
Dance and sing, dance and sing. We got to keep on moving. We got to keep on moving. We want to keep on moving to stay alive. Yes, we do. We got to keep on moving so we can keep on grooving. We got to keep on moving to stay alive. Yes, we do.
You know, Alden, every interaction that you have with a nurse or a doctor isn't great, but sometimes they can really be terrific.
Well, you're right. As a matter of fact, we got together and made up a little song about that.
You want to sing it for us?
I would love to sing.
Do that, please.
Oh, would I love to sing it. The doctors belong to everyone. The best ones in life are great. The nurses belong to everyone. They're always there for you and me. The technicians in spring, the interns that sing, the hospitals that shine, they're yours, they're mine. But the bills will come to everyone. The best ones in life are great. I'm talking about doctors. The best ones in life are great.
All right, open my mic. Okay, fade up on camera one. Hi, welcome back to the studio. My name's Charlie Tesh, and I'm directing tonight's show. Directing a show in this studio is actually pretty easy compared to a lot of other directing jobs. You hear about all the heart trouble and stuff like that directors have, all their stress-related illnesses and stuff, but here it's much different because everybody knows what they're doing. We operate in a kind of collective way, and it's easy. You can just say, go to tape, and everybody knows what to do. The man on audio knows what to do, and the tape person and the switcher, everybody knows. So things work pretty smoothly. I want to introduce a tape that Denise Taylor produced back in March of 1998 called Iraq Issues and Action. And it was a discussion of the situation in Iraq, especially what's been happening to the people there since the war in 1991, and the effect of the economic embargo on Iraq, and the fact that they aren't allowed to import a lot of goods that they really need, including medicines, repair parts for all kinds of things, including ambulances and medical equipment, and it's had a devastating effect on the people. 1 million people have died of preventable causes since 1991. George Capaccio was one of the guests on that show. He's a member of Voices in the Wilderness. He went to Iraq in January of 1998 and brought a video camera with him. And on the show, we showed some of the tape that he shot, and we're going to roll the tape now. And if you can zoom in on George, we're going to hear his commentary with the images.
Just a moment.
We're in a city called Erbil, or Erbil, and it's the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. It's over 7,000 years old. It's predominantly Kurdish, and this is visiting day, and family members are waiting outside of the hospital to visit their relatives inside. And we're about to go in where we'll meet the director, that woman who's taking us down the hallway with a fellow member of the delegation. And she's taking us onto the pediatric wards. And we're interviewing the mothers, and many of the children on this ward are suffering from malnutrition and the diseases associated with malnutrition, like marasmus or kwashiorkor, which is potbelly syndrome. And this child has gastroenteritis. The water in parts of Iraq is contaminated because raw sewage is dumped into the Tigris. The water treatment plants were bombed during the Gulf Massacre of '91. They're barely able to function, so the water has remained impure. The children get sick, and they end up in the hospitals where they can't be treated properly. Very often they die from very preventable diseases like diarrhea, typhus, typhoid fever, cholera. They get this from the water. Iraq cannot import chlorine. It's forbidden. They can't import the spare parts to repair the generators at the water treatment plants or the sewage treatment plants. So there is a cycle of malnutrition and disease. This child is severely malnourished. They resort to improvising patches to hold the needles in places for IV. Because there's severe shortages of gauze pads and adhesive tape, and often they use adult-sized needles for IV, intravenous solution, because they lack the small butterfly needles for children. In this case, they're going up through the little girl's nose. This little girl is paralyzed as well. I don't know if this is connected to being malnourished. Another example, this little girl is malnourished, and you'll see that as somebody tries to approach her head, she turns away because the pain, she's receiving IV through a needle on her head. They don't have gauze, so they're using plaster of Paris as a patch on the side of her head. And you can see her hair is beginning to fall out. It's getting a little sparse. It's one of the signs of malnutrition.
You know, George, when you were talking about the water treatment plants, we should point out that it has been admitted as an intentional policy. These were not hit accidentally. And this is a war crime, to intentionally target the civilian infrastructure. And the Pentagon's logic for doing it was not because it had any real strategic value for the war, but that it would give them leverage over Iraq in the aftermath of the war, which is what you're seeing.
Go ahead, fade up on camera 3.
Hi, my name is Martin LaMonica, and I'm a producer here at Dead Air Live, a part of the Somerville producers group. The show I'm about to introduce is called Bicycles in the Community. It was a show I wanted to do just to show that people in Somerville and in Cambridge can make bicycling a more viable and common way of getting around. It's not just about exercise, it's really about transportation. It was a great experience. I'd recommend it to anybody that is putting on a show, that is. And I think we should, I had some wonderful guests. This clip right here shows some of the people that do bicycle advocacy on a full-time basis. So let's see the tape.
Right, we'll talk about all those things later on. Conrad?
Yes.
Mass Bike, our state bicycle advocacy organization, has as its general mission to improve conditions for cycling. But larger than that, we're part of a larger movement in this country now of people who are concerned about the quality of our communities. And we like to say that we're working for more livable communities. A good example, we say, just as the biologists talk about indicator species, a trout are indicators of a healthy stream or river, we feel that good bicycle accommodations are an indication of a healthy community. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, too many of our communities in this country don't have good accommodations, and consequently people don't feel that it's as much the kind of place they want to live as the ideal. So we are really engaged in helping to change, first change attitudes and then change the practices that we have in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Richard?
Well, I got into bikes like so many people in Somerville and Cambridge do, just because you're a broke college kid and you can't afford a car. But that was down in Florida, which is probably one of the worst places to be a cyclist. But I would compete on bikes, I've written about bikes, I've ridden all over the world. What has really impressed me as I've grown up around cycling is not just a recreation thing. It's really sold to people, I feel, as toys and sort of an aerobic activity, but not really seriously considered for transportation. But cycling, if you look at it, when you delve into it, it really gets into architecture, gets into urban planning, gets into foreign policy. You get into a lot of, it's almost like the pickup sticks game. You start realizing by advocating cycling, you pull on all facets of society and history and culture. And boy, is our culture and history and society a mess right now. So and we think I think bikes are a solution for a lot of problems in this country.
Right. Now, yeah, that's a great point. I just want to make clear this show is not about people who are professional cyclists.
Right.
We're regular people who get around, use it as transportation and recreation. Mike,
Well, I've been part of the Cambridge Bike Committee for a couple of years, and I too got involved with the bicycling community because I was riding around. I'm actually carless and have been carless since I came to Boston. And the reason that Cambridge was very appealing to me to be involved is because Cambridge considers the bicycle to be part of the transportation network. And that's even from a legal point of view. There have been laws that have said pedestrians and bicyclists are part of the community. And in the work that the Bike Committee has done, which is probably one of the longest running citizen advisory committees in the state, we've really worked to make every road a bike-friendly road. And bring bicyclists to the places where they want to go safely and conveniently. And those are our goals.
Right, and Cambridge is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Cambridge is known as sort of on the forefront in terms of bicycle, just integrating bikes into general traffic decisions.
Definitely our goal.
Yeah.
Cambridge is leading the way in this Commonwealth right now.
Yeah. I called you guys up not knowing really what you do. So what, tell us a little bit about what are your activities? I mean, when you, as part of the Somerville Committee, what are the things that you're out there wondering about and working on?
Well, Somerville, like Cambridge, and like a lot of the inner suburbs of Boston, very densely populated, narrow streets, and while we all love paths and off-road riding, the fact of the matter is we have to ride on the streets. And so one of the things that cyclists in Somerville have been trying to do is to look at ways that the city can be made more bikeable. And part of it is just raising awareness. We have an American Automobile Association, and hundreds of thousands of people are driving in and out of cities every day. And so one of the things that local committees like what Michael is doing and what Conrad's doing on the state level is just increasing awareness of bicycle use and the fact that, again, it's not just a recreational thing. I'm amazed to...
Okay. Bringing up camera one. Here we are on camera one. So my name's Ingrid Daubinger, and I just did that fade. And I'm about to introduce metalsmithing, Craft Night Metalsmithing, which was my show this year from my teacher, about my teacher at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education. And let's see, the best thing about SPG is that no matter what kind of a hairy, scary day you've had, you just seem to always have a good time here because the people are so great. So come down and see us. So I'm done. Are you ready?
We're ready.
We're ready. Bye.
Rolling. So now I'm going to go ahead and flux the flux again. It's going to keep the metal nice and clean.
And this allows you to apply heat for a longer period of time as well?
Well, sure, because what we're trying to do is to get the solder to run. And if it's really dirty, the solder doesn't run. You have to think of it like a snow plow on a really, a day full of snow and rocks and boulders, and you're the car trying to drive through the street with all the rocks and boulders, and you can't get anywhere because it's so dirty. So the flex actually is like the snow plow. It kind of clears everything away of dirt and grit and lets you drive down the road there. Okay, so there we have that. So now I'm going to do is to still take this. This is solder, by the way. It comes in these little wires.
And we're using a medium grade solder.
Medium, yeah. It's a medium flowing solder. Solder comes in 3 varieties. What I'm doing now is just bumping up the solder up into the little crevice up there.
And for example, if you were doing multiple solderings,
right,
you'd start with the hard.
Right, meaning, yeah, I should have gone into that. The 3 kinds of solder we work with is basically easy, medium, and hard. Hard is the hardest, meaning the highest melting temperature. Medium is 1 click down from that, and easy is something that you would put on for earring backings or for little delicate work, because it melts so quickly. Easy or hard solder is actually only about 40 degrees off of the melting temperature of silver, so it's really up there. It's quite.
Which is also why we learn on copper.
Yes. Right.
More forgiving.
Right. It is much, much more forgiving. Okay, so now I'm going to do is, I'll bring this out in the middle a little bit. What I'm going to do is to start to heat this all the way around a little bit.
Do you want to put the solder on the other side?
Nope, you only put it on one side.
But for the camera?
I'll just switch it around. Okay. You'll see it when I get it going.
Yeah, I went through phases with solder. I seemed to be able to do it right away, and then I lost it.
Yeah, well, it happens,
And what reminded me was when you were doing the cone, you have to heat where you want the solder to go,
right,
not necessarily
where the flame is. And I think that's one really hard thing trying to teach students in the very, very beginning, is that they think, well, if I concentrate my flame right there, then my solder will go in that direction. And what you want is to trick this out. So if you want a nice clean seam over here, you want the solder to run over there. Now all I'm doing now is just pushing this back, and I'll flip this in front in a minute. The flux is melted out now, so I can move things around pretty easily.
And things get kind of sticky and bubbly, and the solder starts moving around.
Yeah, now you can see that solder there. So what I'm going to do is just start to pull this from the back, and you'll see the solder run. Actually, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Now you notice I'm not heating up the top very much. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm trying to basically concentrate all my heat pretty much on the base of it.
Spin it for that.
Okay, yeah, hold that.
No, the one over my shoulder.
What?
For Charlie.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There, now you can start to see it run there. Right.
Yeah. It took me so long to see that.
Yep.
Even. I mean, you'd say, there it goes, and I'd say, I can't see it.
Yeah. Oh, that happens, So there you go. So now we got our piece pretty well soldered down there. Now there's a second way also.
Three.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Pineda. I also a member of Somerville Producers Group. I think I've been about 2 years, I believe, a member of this group.
Been more than that.
Oh, well, good. Well, time flies when you're having fun in this group. And as a matter of fact, you guys, anyone out there should come here and join us and check this group out, because it's such a great group. It's a wonderful opportunity to show or talk about things that you really want to talk about, and so it's great. Tonight, I'm going to introduce a 4-minute piece show that I co-produced with one of the members, or other members of the group. It's about food standards in this country. It's about basically the food that we eat in this country is not always grown naturally, and that's an important issue that we should look closely, and everyone out there eats, so we should make sure it's good food. So watch tonight. So I'm going to keep typing here, names. Let's go. See you later. Bye.
Were you going to
Consumer Reports did a major article about the difference in chemical residues between conventional and organic foods in January of '98. And they did determine from their testing that organic foods do have less pesticide residue than conventional food. So they confirmed what you would hope to find. But
that may not be true if these standards went through.
Well, these standards...
Perhaps we should back up and you should tell me a little bit about the standards.
Sure.
Like,
these standards would allow for the use of antibiotics in livestock, in the raising of livestock. They would allow for synthetic growth hormones to be used. They would allow for irradiation, municipal sewage, sludge fertilizer. Some of these we've already touched on, but and the certification issue is a very major point. The fact that small farmers who, we're trying to save rural farmland, and organic food production has given many small farmers an ability to get a fair market value for their crops. So it's enabled many farmers to stay on the land, and
many small organic farmers.
That's right.
I see.
We should say, that this of all the regulations that apparently any government agency has ever issued, this particular one by the USDA has received the most adverse reaction. Hundreds from the public, hundreds of thousands of letters have been written, because you see, the whole organic movement is based on these regulations are contrary to the whole organic movement. So I think it's probably fair to say that these things are not going to go through. I don't know what you think,
well,
but the USDA person that spoke at one of the forums seemed to indicate that they would not try to push these things through with the amount of opposition you could object yourself, by the way, out there, and although I think the time has gone by that you could, but they've received hundreds of thousands of letters.
The last count was they'll probably reach 200,000, and that's very significant. That is the highest number of comment that the USDA has ever received. And
so I think it's likely that this is not going to go through.
There's a lot of political intrigue here, though. They put forth a rule that was so bad that everybody disliked so much. But because we're talking about a standard that has to be strict, I mean, that's what the whole market, it's a $4 billion industry now per year in the United States.
Organic.
Organic, that's right. So that the reason I buy organic is because I look at that certified organic label, and that has integrity, and I'm willing to pay a premium for it because of some of the reasons that we've talked about. But if they water that down in any way, I'm not going to be willing to buy that product. Now, and I don't want to say that I'm not going to be willing to eat food that Oaks or Susan have grown from their community-supported farm. But when I'm buying products that might be grown in Ohio, the best way that I can trust it is if it says certified organic. And so there's a lot of maneuvering that will happen. The USDA is going to rewrite the rule, and they will re-release it. And when they do re-release the rule, they're not going to give the public 3.5 months to comment like they did this time, because that allowed us all to get organized and to mobilize and to get a tremendous response. They're probably going to only have a 30-day public comment period.
Just like the food issue would be something that is very important for us to look at in terms of lifestyle and everything. We're back in the studio. My name's Larry Yeager. Tomorrow will mark the anniversary of 18 years from the first Dead Air Live show that I worked on. And I'm still doing it, and it's still fun. So, you know, if you're interested in public access, you really should get involved in it and make TV of your own, because it can turn into a whole 18 years worth of fun. But in those 18 years, there's been a number of times that we have done, like looked at world affairs through other people's videotapes that we've shown. And on June 2nd this year, we had a really moving show called Unreported Injustice that looked at the situation in Chiapas, Mexico. It looked at a tape about the School of the Americas at Fort Benning, Georgia, and it had an excerpt from a tape about the situation in East Timor by Indonesia. And what we're going to show you now is a segment of the tape about East Timor, which is a very moving tape. It's really, really intense. But that's the type of show that we do regularly and we really enjoy doing, and bringing you these things that you just don't see in mainstream media and you don't hear about in mainstream media. So here's a little bit of this tape on East Timor.
The Indonesian soldiers marched up, and without missing a beat, as they came upon the crowd, part of the crowd was turning around. People had become very hushed, and they were trying to get out of the way of the soldiers. The soldiers marched up without missing a beat, without provocation, without warning. They lined up in front of the crowd, and they opened fire. From right to left and back again, they mowed the people down. The people we had just been interviewing were lying dead in the street. At about the same time that the soldiers opened fire, one soldier grabbed my microphone and threw me to the ground. He started beating me with his fist, punching me in the face, kicking me in the stomach, and using his rifle butts. Alan was right behind me, and he got a snapshot of the soldiers opening fire. As the other soldiers came, they jumped on me and they were beating me on the ground. Alan threw himself on top of me, and then they started beating him very badly. They used their rifle butts as baseball bats, and they slammed them against his head until they fractured his skull. We were then lying there right behind the line of fire as they beat us. The soldiers took their M16s and they put them to our head. The only thing we could say was, "We are from America." They had stripped us of everything. The only thing I had left was my American passport. And I showed it to them. They threw it back at me. When I would say we're from America, they would kick me in the stomach. But they seemed to hear it. They had their guns against our heads, and at some point they decided they wouldn't execute us. It seemed that saying we were from America was some kind of shield that the Timorese never had. After all, their weapons were from the same country we were from.
It all began with a prayer. Catholic Mass for a student killed in a demonstration against the forced rule of Muslim Indonesia. East Timor was seized in 1975 by Indonesian leaders, fearful that the spirit of independence might spread to other Indonesian-ruled islands. America accepted Indonesia's takeover. The United Nations did not. On this day, protesters, including women and children, challenged the military by marching to a nearby cemetery. Suddenly, and without provocation, say Western reporters, the street became a killing field.
This was the first ever network television report on East Timor. The video of the November 12th massacre was smuggled out of Indonesia by its photographer, Max Stahl of Yorkshire Television. Arrested by the Indonesian military, he hid the tape in a recently dug grave. He retrieved it from its hiding place in the cemetery after his release 9 hours later. This CBS News segment, while making clear Indonesia's brutality, ignores the extensive United States role in creating this tragedy. Without U.S. weapons and aid, Indonesia's illegal occupation of East Timor would soon end. Our video tells of that role and what you can do about it.
After this day's internal affair, Indonesian soldiers searched for survivors, beating and then arresting them. Perhaps 100 were gunned down, 300 wounded. This young man was among those badly hurt but unable to get any medical care. He died moments later. There is nothing new about this kind of killing, say those in East Timor, just that this time there was someone here to see it. Barry Peterson.
Hi there. Hi, I'm Laurel Greenberg, and I've been in the group almost 7 years. And I'm doing tape playback tonight, so I have to kind of work while I'm talking. And this fall, we decided to do a couple of shows on elections that were going on. We did one show about the big race in the 8th Congressional District, where there were 10 candidates. And somebody's laughing. And we did another show, what did we do? Oh, on the ballot questions later. And the first tape we're going to show is about the election show. We had a panel of 4 guests from different organizations discuss all 10 candidates. So let's roll the tape, half-inch tape. Rolling.
Mayor of Somerville. We'll go in reverse. What do you Michael Capuano?
Well, we don't know, we know him as the mayor of Somerville. I would say that he has very little support within now. People aren't happy with his positions. He claims to be pro-choice, I believe, in this race. He'd be better than Flynn, but certainly not someone we would want to see.
Why do you say he claims to be pro-choice? I mean, you
well,
don't have much evidence that he would actually stick to that, or it's a weak sort of position?
He hasn't advocated for reproductive rights for women. Certainly the mayor of a city doesn't always have those options, but with city hospitals, you know, what efforts has he made to make sure that poor women have had access to abortion and birth control services within the city hospitals? I don't think he's even looked at that. The other thing that we have to be concerned with is he doesn't have a track record on the edges where we've been losing ground in Congress, late-term abortions, minors' access, public funding of abortions. The edges are really the first step to doing away with all of every woman's right to
The little
choose.
thing that the pro-life movement is trying to sort of...
Which they've admitted, right. These are their first steps. They want to chisel away here as a first step to doing away with reproductive choice across the board.
Mark?
To echo some of those sentiments, as a mayor, he's not had the opportunity, for instance, that a legislator has had to take positions, public positions on sort of the hot button issues with respect to gay and lesbian civil rights issues. On the other hand, his stated positions on those issues in answering our questionnaire and other gay and lesbian organizations' questionnaires were perfect. He supports some issues that are more difficult, for instance, civil marriage rights for gay and lesbian people. And he is, to my mind, an interesting candidate in that he sort of crosses that town-gown divide that has been a long history in this district, in Cambridge and elsewhere. Someone on the town side in many respects who really shares the views sort of traditionally associated with progressive, more gown residents of the district. And so I think he is someone who the community would be pleased to work with, not someone who has as extensive a record as some of the other candidates.
Okay. Mary?
Again, he responded to our questionnaire, which was a lot more than Flynn did, and his responses were good. However, the distinction again is he's been a mayor. He hasn't lived or breathed his entire career as an activist as John O'Connor has.
Right.
He hasn't written a ream of books on the environment. It just hasn't been his bag, you know?
Right, right. So it's hard for an environmental organization
exactly.
to endorse him. Now, he, a big thing I know is schools, education. He talks about bringing down the class size of Somerville schools. You know, his mother is in senior housing. That's important to him. Do you have comments regarding some of those issues, or in general?
I mean, I would say again, I mean, he answered our questionnaire tremendous. I mean, he's taken some very strong progressive stance. You know, what I think, I mean, I think he is, he will be very good at representing working people in the state. I think that's really what he's known for as the mayor of Somerville. I think he is very serious about the issue of education. Among progressives, in particular among progressives in Somerville, he has a very poor reputation. And I think that that's really where progressives in the district are conflicted, because though he's answered the questionnaire, it's exactly right. People who have had experience with him in terms of his appointments within the city feel like that they've represented more of like the old boy network. So I would say that some of the positive and negatives on him. But it doesn't see I mean, Somerville's school systems were not in great shape, and he's really taken it as a priority. So I think that that's not been false advertising on his part.
Hi, I'm Amanda Sawiris, and I'm working the audio board tonight, so I just had to make sure I brought my mic up. I have been with the Somerville Producers Group for about 3.5 years now, and time sure has flown because I've had a wonderful time producing shows, from political shows to lots of arts shows. And tonight I want to introduce a very labor-intensive piece to you, but one that was a lot of fun. And it's a puppet show that we did for, that I co-produced with Larry Yeager, and that I had a lot of help from everybody in the group around doing. And it was a piece that we prepared for Once Upon a Time, which was the Halloween show this year. I love doing Halloween shows every year, and they're typically have a lot of pre-production involved. And it's pretty unique because we, the producers group, made the puppets ourselves, and we painted them, we made the costumes, and it represented what you see is about the fourth recording of the piece. That is, there were many layers involved. We did the audio track separately, we did the background separately, and the puppet performance separately. And so without further ado, let's go to Hop Frog. And actually I want to say one more thing. We wrote the script too, based on an Edgar Allan Poe story. So if you'll, is everybody all set? Okay, well, let it roll, please.
Long ago, in a land far away, there lived a wealthy king. This king considered himself quite a prankster and dearly loved playing practical jokes on any and all for the sheer joy of hearing himself laugh. At that time, all wealthy kings, and this was a very wealthy king, had a court jester or fool. This king prized his fool especially because he was a cripple, and the king loved not only to laugh at the fool's jokes, but to laugh at the fool himself.
Before I begin my important business today, I need a laugh. Send for the fool.
Send for the fool.
Send for the fool. Send for the fool.
Send for the fool.
Send for the fool.
Oh, look at him.
Look at him.
Oh my God, look at him.
Copying him.
My lord, I'm at your service.
Of course you are, cripple. I need a laugh. We, as in the royal we, want to see you dance.
my lord. I prepared these jokes, and I can't dance.
Cripple, I command you to dance.
He's died. The fool has a constipation. He checks him out so.
Jerks him out,
Look at his jerk. Look at that little jerk.
He's jerking. Don't step at him.
Don't step at it, all right? Oh, yes. Yes. He jerks about like that, and I think he reminds me of a frog. Yes, a good hot frog he is. Puny crippled legs, but big strong arms. You there, maid, polish my crown.
Yes, Your Highness. How bright would you like it?
Oh, I like it. Now then, Prime Minister, let's attend to business.
Yes, business.
Oh, yes, business. Great idea. Yes, business. Down to business.
Jester? Hop Frog? Oh, good gracious. I am sorry to have to call you that, but I know you by no other name.
Who calls?
It is I, your friend Trippetta.
How may I be of assistance?
Oh, dear, I am quite distressed.
What is it, dear Lady Trippetta?
The king, he's demanded a masquerade in 2 weeks' time, and I will never be able to make all the arrangements.
Never fear, dear Trippetta. We have planned many parties before, and we will do it again.
But a masquerade? All the lords and ladies, and the decorations, and the food and party favors. Oh, my.
I will help you.
Oh, dear Hop Frog, you are kind, and much more a gentleman than those who only dress the part.
We must start planning immediately.
I do hope nothing goes wrong.
Okay, fade up on camera one. Hi, I'm Charlie Tesh, and I'm back. Let's see, we don't have much time because we're running it's a crowded show tonight, and everybody's taking too long, so I'll try to be short. I'm supposed to say I've been in the group for 25 years or something like that, and introduce the next tape, which is a show that I produced in November of this year, of 1998, about human rights in the United States. And it started out, the inspiration was that Amnesty International, who I heard Josh Rubenstein on the radio, has started a campaign for human rights in the United States, which is unusual because they usually focus on foreign dictatorships and nasty things that are happening to people in other countries, but there's actually quite a bit happening to people in this country, and this show focused on the conditions in prisons, and we talked about the awful things that are happening and then went on to talk about some of the things that could be done to make the situation better. So we're going to take a look at that right now. Roll tape, please.
And it's a question of going beyond the human rights and going to the abolition of prisons altogether. Because in the mid-70s, the prison population was dropping like about 1% a year. And there was people talking about finding different solutions to locking people up and locking people in isolation and having them tortured and whatnot. The people were talking about bringing people back to the community whole, finding out what made people do the crimes, so-called social crimes or whatever that they've done, and bring them back healed. All the education programs, I mean, we have to start moving to the abolition of prisons altogether, because it all starts, you know, somewhere else in the prevention, you know, in the education, in the family, and all that starts in society. So
yeah, I have to agree with Kazi. I think right now we do have a lowered crime rate, not because so many people are in jail, but I think because of the aging of the baby boomers. And I think coming up right behind him is another big lump of population. And I know children in particular and young people are being treated with incredible brutality in the criminal justice system. They'll spend $30,000 a year to keep a nonviolent person in prison, but if you said, could I have $30,000 to go to college, they wouldn't get that, nor would your high school be rebuilt, nor would you be in class sizes that are small enough where a child could actually learn something.
Well, when you look at the repeal of the Pell Grants for
Right.
prisoners, and I think Boston University had documented about 5 or 6 years ago that for the prisoner who attains additional education, whether it's that GED or that bachelor's degree, that the likelihood of recidivism begins to lower significantly. We know that. We know that that works. So I would ask that same question. Why are we so willing to pay that $30,000 or $40,000 to incarcerate that person for 10 or 12 or 15 years when we could pay $15,000 and send that person and use that for what we were using?
Let me suggest that that's an argument, and the attendant arguments around that all of us in our communities need to start making. If we just remind the public that prisons are brutal places, I think, unfortunately, our fellow citizens, by and large, will respond with indifference. They know they're brutal places. They know they don't want them to be country clubs, and they don't have a lot of sympathy for prisoners.
Yes.
But if you go and you say, it's in your self-interest to treat these people better, because the great majority are going to return to the community, and you better ask yourself if it's more likely that they will create crime, or is it less likely they will be recidivists because of the treatment they received in prison. Some people say, well, the worse the better, will scare them straight. They'll never want to go back to that environment.
Doesn't work.
But that doesn't work. People need to leave prison, it seems to me, and I don't claim to have the experience many of you have, with more tools for reintegration, whether it's to learn how to read, with some kind of education, with some chance of getting a job, and at least being psychologically prepared to be with their family again, to be in the community. And I know that takes an effort. I'm sure it takes some kind of program, but in the long run, it's probably cheaper than just sending them back to jail for another 10 years, and certainly less cynical.
Hi, I'm Mark Goldstein. I'm working camera tonight, and I'm the newest member of the Somerville Producers Group. I'm happy to say I came out here right after I learned how to program my VCR, and really enjoyed it. And I hosted a show just recently on the Andrea Doria. Robert Duffy dove down a very rare occasion, and he was good enough to share it with us. And we're going to go right to it, so you can take a look.
And just there, coming into view now, is the Andrea Doria herself. We were tied in the stern section at the promenade deck. It's absolutely fabulous at this point. When you get days of visibility like this, where you can see more than 60, 70 feet, it's just spectacular. It's overwhelming because the wreck just goes on forever. There's some fishing net, an ever-present hazard on a lot of shipwrecks. A lot of fishing net and a lot of monofilament fishing line.
Do you see much sea life down there?
Oh, there's a multitude, from tiny fish to big fish, sharks, cod. You can see a sea bass right there. What we're looking at now are the bollards, where they would tie, when at dock, they would tie the lines. Let me remind you, we're sideways. They would be sitting on the floor on the deck. That's a teak deck that would be on our left. This is one of many entrances to the Andrea Doria. This is a doorway that led into the stern bar area, second-class lounge bar area. Again, more windows and whatnot. This is all in the stern section. Right behind us, what's really neat to see is a swimming pool. There's a swimming pool sitting on its side, empty, well, or full, depending how you look at it. So, cables and a multitude of lines everywhere, which just, there's one right there in the frame that could tangle a diver up very quickly if you weren't paying attention. For example, looking through the viewfinder in the camera.
You must have had to study the ship plans pretty carefully to know what you're looking at here.
Intensely. And yeah, you really have to spend a lot of time doing your homework as far as studying the deck plans. Right there, you're looking straight out the stern section of the wreck. And right there, there's another diver from another boat, I believe a New York boat. This gentleman caught a glimpse of the diver and started swimming back to his mooring. Must have known, oh, he went too far. He started to wander into the area where we were moored. More fishing net entangled all over the wreck. That right there is the bridge wing, where the crew member would sit with his binoculars and make observations of the sea and whatnot. The mooring line to home. Right now, my dive buddy Dave Trainum is putting the surface applied oxygen in his mouth to aid in his decompression. Right there you get a bird's eye view of the valve system where we have 2 regulators hooked up. That's Bart Malone with a big bag of goodies. And right here, Billy Delmonico's find, the mother of all portholes. That's about a 12-foot by 15-foot piece of the sheet metal from the side of the wreck with a 300-pound solid bronze porthole in it. And you can see how Billy with his crowbar had been prying on that for an hour or two before we finally hauled it up on the boat and drilled it out.
Are you permitted to take any pieces of the ship that you're able to go down and dive?
Yes, we are for the most part. Right now on the bow section there is an arrest warrant for some artwork that some individuals have been recovering from the New York area. Some fabulous pieces of artwork by Rui, an Italian modern artist.
There you go.
This is some scenery on the boat as we were pulling the giant piece of sheet metal on with the porthole. You can see the sea conditions have definitely just flattened right out in this frame. It's amazing, within an hour this could erupt to 10 to 20 foot seas without even knowing.
Thanks for watching. That's the end of the show. This is Larry Yeager saying thank you for watching Dead Air Live this evening. This was our look at 1998. I hope you continue to watch us in the course of 1999, when hopefully we'll do another 27 shows, another 27 hours worth of programming for you. Thank you and good night.
A little bit up below the waist. If you go down to the bottom of the waist, or that bottom of the hips to where your legs begin, that's where your hip joints really are. And you want to move from the hip joints, not from the bottom of the waist. Just let those legs go from side to side. Your weight's going to shift from side to side on the legs, and breathe. And as you do that, your head's going to be able to surrender and move as well. So the movement of the hips gently moves up through your spine and through the neck, just letting it go without straining. Hands can rest gently on the hips, or they can push a little bit if you feel safe with your wrists. Breathe, keep breathing. A couple more rocks from side to side. And then let's do a little circling around with the tailbone. So your hips again get a nice rolling around motion. And start feeling a sense of friendliness towards your body, like you're listening to it, like you're treating it as if you'd be with a good friend of yours. And you're listening and paying attention to what it wants, what it needs now. Let's switch directions. You might imagine you have a ballpoint pen attached to your tailbone, and you're drawing a circle with that. Keep breathing. If you stop breathing, your body tightens up. You want the flow of breath to gently flow in and out.